So if we're talking again, being on a good team, I want to let's talk about the pros. Like go through the pros of being on a good team. One, go just like a little more detail. We'll go through the cons of being on a good team, and then I want to talk about who would be better suited for which situation. Does that make sense? Okay, so pros of being on a good team, in your opinion.
Well,
Start with that.
you learn how to win. Like there is something to be said about winning. You get to if you're on the Marlies or on these big teams or on a top alliance. No, people don't know what alliance is, but if you're on like outside of Toronto or outside of the big programs and you have a really good competitive team and you get to the semifinals and tournaments and finals and tournaments, you learn how to win. You expect to win. You learn how to play tired. You learn how to um, your expectations of winning are it's just that's what you expect. It's like a guy in business, right? A guy that believes that he's just gonna start a company and it'll succeed and have the balls to go knock on this door, talk to this person. That guy that believes that usually can get it done. Whereas if you are very tentative of doing that, then your rate of success or your expect whatever that word is of success is a lot less. You probably won't succeed, or you don't believe it when it happens. So that's to me that's number one. You learn how to win. That's great. You play with good players. So like if you are a good player and you move to the next level, you are used to maybe reading a guy that is very intelligent and just kind of reading and feeding off of them. And you're making offensive plays or running a power play that's actually a power play that would work at another level, different things like that. So the systems itself or the way you execute a game at a high level fast is not going to surprise you, or you're just used to that stepping up to the next level. I think for me that's that. It gives you some confidence. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's false confidence, but it gives you some confidence. So that's what I would say for me. The two big things would be.
And what about from like a development perspective in terms of skills?
Well,
and
you're
that stuff?
practicing at a good pace, but I don't know if I'm going to agree with that. I would say that you're practicing at a good pace. I think you're doing things at a good pace, but are you? Like, are you? That's my question. It's are you competing really? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, it won't hurt you to have a good hard practice, but if you're playing against inferior competition all the time, are you really playing? Are you really competing? True. Are you really competing? Are you just?
That's the Mike Tyson argument. There,
well, it is, man.
Right?
It's 100%. It is. Yeah. Are you just a better athlete?
So then, if we flip to the cons,
and last thing on playing on a good team, there's more pressure. There's pressure to win. True. Pressure to win is, I think, harder to deal with or more learned behavior than the pressure of always losing.
Yeah. Okay. So then cons.
Cons on playing on a good team? That's maybe my longest list in the whole world. No, yeah, I'm being honest. The cons are like, first of all, okay, the cons is that
biggest one for me, just before you go, because I don't want to forget it, is you don't learn how to lose. A lot of times you're playing on the super team, because I mean, you had this when you were coaching your super teams. It's like you lose one game or you have a bad period and everyone is like freaking out. Like you get the bad attitudes now, the bad body language, the sucky baby shit. It's like you don't learn how to deal with losing in a productive way. That's probably the biggest one that I notice from guys like that.
Yeah, for me, like for playing on a super team is, or on a high end team is, for me, number one is that you don't, you're not really competing. You're not. You're competing maybe in a tournament. You're competing at the semifinals and finals. Yeah, so the first 4 games don't actually count. If you go to the state, like so if we was playing for Bell Tire or Little Caesars or something, you're playing at the state championship. The only games that actually are competition are your last, like the semifinals, finals. You're winning the state. Someone from the Detroit area is winning the state, right? So it's not real competition every night. It's so you have to find that competition within yourself. The other con is that when you do lose, it's like it's almost like, I don't want to say it like that, but like you make more excuses than you make. You know what I mean? Like the ref screwed us, this kind of stuff, rather than
what did you do?
Yeah, we didn't compete hard enough. Yeah. I find that you don't have to compete. You don't have to compete, right? It's like the Mike Tyson thing. It's like if I'm outskilling you, if I'm just a better boxer than you, and I'm bigger, stronger, and just better, like the fight's not real till I meet my match. Then it's going to find out if you're actually a
Yeah.
fighter,
Yeah,
right?
it's not to all things
Yeah.
are equal.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's the thing is like when you play against well, I remember when I was coaching the Bell Tire team, we were so good, and Tom Fergus was coaching the junior Canadians, so he was an NHL player, and we spanked them shorthanded. We're basically five. We were playing 3 guys against 5 for basically 2 periods, and we ended up winning 4-0, like shorthanded goals, and we were just better. The second game we played against, it was a little bit tighter, but we still beat them pretty handily. But you could see that they weren't gonna quit. They were Toronto Junior Canadians. We played them 4 times that year. They beat us the last time, and they came close to tying us, or they tied us. So we almost had an even series. And it was like those guys worked, and they had a coach that they weren't as good as us, but he said we're going to shut them down. My guys didn't like it. That's all I can say. Like they were way better. There was no excuse for this, but my guys didn't like the
They didn't like the battle, yeah.
and most times they did, but like we had a pretty good group. But this was a gritty Toronto Junior Canadian team, and they outgritted our team. They just had more will, and that's you beat a super team. It's because you just our guys wanted to move the puck and have room and skate, and of course you do. But then when you get a team that just is in your face, a 1-3-1 or a 1-4, and then and you can't move, and they're just hacking and whacking, and you're taking penalties. That was the game plan. So that's what you should be in every night if you're in a real competitive group. Anyways, you don't lose. You get your ass wiped for you from the time you're 10 to the time you're 16. Everyone walks around, and it's a con. It's not good. People are telling you how great you are. You walk around with false pride that you think you're just better than anybody. You haven't really competed. You don't learn to play with a player that's going to put a skate in your boots instead of on the tape. You're playing with guys that are highly skilled, so that's not good. That's actually not good all the time.
You've never had to take a bad pass. You've never had to do.
That's what I mean.
Stuff,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And are you getting coaching? Are you? Like you might have the greatest coach in the world to work with that talent, but you might have just the talent to beat everybody. So there's so many things on playing on a really good team that are negative, and there's some things that are good. But I just think that you have the attitude that you come from a place where you're told how great you are, and then you haven't really seen the competition yet. And then you meet your match when you get, and some of them are perfect for the next levels, but you see a lot of them that are not.
So my last thing then, this gets right to the crux of the matter. Everyone asks, or everyone brings up, again, we talked about it a bit last week, of like, I need to play on a good team so I get exposure, so I get this, that, the other thing. Most people, I would say, generally speaking, would probably land on the side that playing on a better team is better. So, and I'm not saying it's not, I'm saying it depends. So for you, what type of person, what type of player would be better suited for each circumstance, or could it be good for any player either way? So if I'm the try to find me an example of where it would be better for a kid to play on a bad team and be a top player, or where it would be better for a player to play on a good team as a good player. So let's say we got a good player either way. Which type of personality, like what type of kid?
Okay, my honest answer is doesn't matter. It's too bad for you. Like, this is just being 100% honest. If you're fortunate enough to always win your games and play on a good team, and you're a good player, and you go first overall in the OHL, get drafted in the NHL first round, and have a 20-year career, then awesome. You didn't have to have necessarily the same adversity as someone else. If you're stuck and like, okay, so I'll just use my example. We live in Windsor, and I was not interested in moving my kid anywhere. He and my son played on some shitty teams. And you know what? Good. I actually wanted him to play on shitty teams. Actually. And so if you're good on a shitty team, don't cry. Don't cry. I want you to have a shitty team. I want you to have shitty coaches. I want you to have shitty line mates. I want you to have shitty arenas. I want you to have shitty jerseys. I want you to have shitty everything. I actually wanted that. And he had that several times. And then they became a good team through some good coaching and a couple players coming to the team. They became a very good team. But I'll tell you what, when he was losing every day, he had to learn how to be a competitor. He did. He had to learn how to be a competitor, and he had to learn how to take the guy that was playing beside him, or maybe he was even the guy that they had to carry a little bit. Not really, but he had to take a guy. Well, no, but he wasn't the best of the world. He wasn't, but he found a way to impact a game.
Yeah, you were shit.
Yeah. No, but you had to find a way to make the team good
I'm good at hockey.
and dig deep, right? And dig
Yeah.
deep and make the team better.
Yeah.
So there was games where they would really fight really hard and they would lose 3-2, 4-3. Maybe the goalie sucked, whatever. You had to fight through that. But I'll tell you what, once they had a team together and they had that work ethic together, the kids that grew up in it, and they had that work ethic, and then you add one here, all of a sudden they start winning games and they're loving it and they're embracing it and they're cherishing it, like cherishing it. We're winning, we're good, and there was like they enjoyed it. They enjoyed winning and they loved it. Smiles on their faces, but they worked their ass off when they were losing. So I love the fact that my kid had to go through that, and it's just so good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so
because when you get to listen, so my other point of that is that when you get to the next level, it doesn't matter what you like or what's good for you or what not. You are having to deal with what you have to deal with. So if you get drafted, I've said this before, if you're drafted as a first round pick, like an early first round pick to a shitty team, there's a good chance that that shitty team is not going to win the Memorial Cup this year.
Yeah.
They're going to probably be in a little bit of
yeah,
in the
be on
mud.
a shitty team. Yeah,
You're going to be in the mud again.
Yeah.
So if you've never played with a shitty player, never lost, then good luck to you this year. You're going to have a shit attitude. Your agent's going to call the GM 40 times a year and say this is bullshit.
You're supposed to be the guy that changes it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've had all the ice time on the best team, right? If you're all the ice time, now you go to a team you get drafted to the London Knights and you're fourth line and you're not getting the ice. Like, how do you respond to that? You've never happened to you before. So you need all the experiences in life. So I don't care what you think is good for your kid and what's bad for your kid. The only environment that I wouldn't want my kid in is one that's just a bad environment, one where a coach is an idiot or is like abusive in some way or stuff like that. But I don't care, man. I want them to play for shitty coaches so they can figure things out themselves.
Yeah.
Think for yourselves.